I'm sorry I was not paying attention. We have started UNRV vs. Bros. Not sure if Dexter Morgan is a sub. Wrong button. Bros. UNRV. Alrighty. Everything's looking good. Hopefully stream will show up fine for you guys. Let me know in chat if it doesn't. However, we are getting straight into round one. Bros on the defense. UNRV attacking. Factory top floor. We see one over here in Tetris. There is one over here in orange. However, no real contest here for printers or lockers. Same thing here in vending. No one really holding the Bros play. BRO2. Apologies. It's BRO2. Always getting the first one. However, Math trading it out. Luffy going down. Dexter is here on the roam. However, UNRV does seem ready for it. However, the angle might be a little bit off. Dexter might be able to get a pick. Ooh, Vigil is able to get Dexter on the roam. This is going to open up a lot of opportunities. Maybe let him get wall open and a free EMP plant in cover. However, always has evened out the numbers. Rain has also taken a little bit of damage from trip mines there. Prodigy is going to be getting EMP planted in November. Swinging the other site goes down. Now it's a 2v2. EMP is on wall, and Math is able to get one. Drew is able to trade out one of those. However, it's a 1v1 EMP on the wall, and Math is in a very good position for post plant. Math gets the last pick, first round for UNRV. Pretty good start there for UNRV. We saw them take a lot of space early on. Drone helped a little bit, and a little bit slow getting through the window. However, they did end up taking space, and good flank watch there. Good game sense to know that there's going to be someone flanking so late in the round. That really opened up a lot of opportunities to get wall open and clear out the rest of site. Very good gunplay as well. A lot of this wouldn't have been possible if they lost their gunfights, but they won it thankfully, and that got them the round. But now we're going into round two. A little bit more will be able to be bought by these players. Specifically, we're seeing Luffy and Drew getting omens, along with Math and Vigil. However, Prodigy's going for the Viper. Drone goes in, we'll get a little bit of information, and Vigil goes down very early. Do see A wall getting blown. Not the usual push. You usually see an A site push on this floor. However, A site can be very good if you can get all the angles opened up. Pretty good nade goes back site, won't quite get much damage though. Lofi here in middle site is able to get one. However, that's it. He does take a lot of damage though. Ooh, very good nade there from Always 8. Lofi also swinging out, getting one. And now it's a 1v4. Kenny is going to have to clutch this if they want to win the round. However, they have picked up the Viper. It might not be a bad idea to save. Hopefully the player there does call out. No, Always goes down. However, Kenny might not know there's a player. Ooh, pre-fire doesn't. Ooh. Pre-fire almost didn't work out from Ember. However, in the end, it was fine. Don't usually want to pre-fire unless you're completely sure that they're there, because as we saw, it almost caused them to lose the round because Ember gave away his position. Good round nonetheless. Bro on the board, tying it up. Hopefully they can keep up the pace here. They have gotten a lot more guns and utility. Well, not quite as much utility as UNRV. We are seeing some stims, grenades, instance. However, we are seeing more guns on both sides. 2 rifles on the side of UNRV, only 1 on the side of Bro, so hopefully they can make use of that. Also want to make sure that you don't give those rifles to the opposing team, because that could be very dangerous. We're now on middle floor though. You usually see an upwards roam because you always need to be careful of this hatch. However, we don't see that coming out from Bros. However, no, I believe there was a drone. Ooh, Lofi is able to get Prodigy on the hatch. Unfortunate. Another one. November is able to get Ember, however, damage is done. They have recovered EMP, however, they're at a player disadvantage now. Lofi is also going to be able to heal up to full HP. Does have to be careful for the window though. Smoke goes out, will apply a little bit of pressure while they decide to push the hatch. Maybe trying to get the pick onto Lofi, however, they've moved off. It's going to be hard to recover from this one, and Vigil over in Museum goes down. 1 minute on the clock and a 2v4. UNRV not looking very good right now. Math is in a relatively good position, however, a lot of angles still open. Pretty good instant. I'm pretty sure that got directly behind bomb, yes. Good clearing out bomb, however, you have given time for one to rotate back in. Very good wall bangs coming out from Lofi there. And now this is going to be a little bit more difficult. November is able to get Lofi, denying any more kills. However, the last 3 players are sitting right there around the corner. That would have been very difficult to clutch up. However, I'm not sure, but was Lofi on his way to get an ace? Bros did a very good job there at defending, especially Lofi. They were able to get, I believe it was 2 players on hatch. and one of them on the doorway, and that just made it really difficult for UNRV to push in. You don't usually see that much aggression from underneath the hatch. It's very difficult to get picks unless uh, the players on hatch are completely unprepared, which doesn't usually happen. Do see good pre-nade coming out. Drone won't be caught out though. That's one of the more important things. You want to make sure you can clear as much space as possible. Drone hopefully points out those trip mines. Ooh, and a nade goes out. Good rotation out, not taking any more damage, very important. They will have to be careful for the stairs roam though from Ember. Ooh, the window peak, just barely not in time, and he's able to get the pick on window. Ember getting two, however, Kenny does refrag that finally, however, one player down, two players dead. Not the greatest way to be pushing in at the very beginning. Ball is blown, and they're gonna have to be careful for the player in the corner. Drew is able to swing out, get Kenny, and that's even more player advantage for Bro. Very good corner camping and patience. We didn't see Drew peek up until they were sure that they could get the kill, and that really got them the kill. If they'd peeked up too soon, they could have been double swung, and now it's a 1v4. Vigil is on his own. Looks like he's gonna save the Marui. Not a bad idea. Vigil is gonna carry this Marui into the next round. Maybe buy a little bit more utility for his team, because I think that's gonna be what they need to win out this first half. Bros seems to be a little bit better with rifles than UNRV, and they're really suffering for it. UNRV needs to, I think, buy utility or play in groups of 2 or more, because we have been seeing a lot of 1v1s coming out, and perhaps adding one more to your side will help that. But other than that, not sure if there's much you can do. Just isolate gunfights and use utility. Flashbangs have been buffed recently. Incense, grenades, smokes, block off line of sight from other angles so you can focus on just one. It's kind of what you need to do on offense. Similar with defense. Incense, grenades, smokes, those can be used very well. Once again, drone going out. We're gonna check lockers and Tetris. However, there is one in Orange Hall. Drone might not check all the way back in the corner. It doesn't. They're gonna miss the flank there. Hopefully they did spot the trip mines though. Prodigy has taken space. There's also two over here in vending. Wall blown very early, under 30 seconds. A lot of utility being traded though. Dexter here in orange is able to get a pick. Lofi on site is also able to get Vigil. Ooh, Dexter with another pick there in lockers. Not great. Now November and Kenny are on their own. Kenny's in vending right now. Is able to get Lofi. Looks like they're going to rotate off towards hatch, maybe to help November rain. However, there is one in Tetris. You're going to have to be careful. Grenade goes out, lockers. Not going to catch anyone. Hopefully gets the trips, though. Ooh. And Dagster is able to get trips and November to drop the hatch. Only thing standing in his way, unfortunately, is a kill from Lofi. Could have been an ace, however, not much you could do about that. In the heat of the moment, you tend to not care too much about who gets an ace unless you're really running away. However, we do kind of see that happening here. BRO2 is in a 3-point lead and looking to make it 4. UNRV is really going to need to change how they play or what util they use if they're going to want to make a difference here on the map. You tend to want to see 2 points at least on any side. More is always welcome, however 2 tends to be the minimum. We are now on middle floor. Dexter is upstairs roaming. Does rotate off a tiny bit. EMP player is on his own though. Not exactly the greatest idea, however. 3 are here trying to push the one in lockers. Ooh, and Dexter's able to get that pick. EMP is now upstairs on the ground, along with one of their foams. Not the greatest. I should not have sent Prodigy alone with EMP. Never a good idea to send EMP player on their own. Hopefully he has called out to his teammates that EMP is upstairs. Unfortunately, he does go down. We'll see where they decide to go. Museum Hatch seems to be the main place so far, unless they do decide to go B. Or, sorry, A. Oh, Lofi is there in conference. They're gonna get a pick, and a lot of utility going out. Instance grenades. Ooh, Lofi swinging back to site is able to get another. How is he getting away with these? Rome's coming in from hallway. They're gonna have to be careful. There's also one con and on bomb. Ooh, Lofi goes down. However, Ember on the roam. Not looking good for Vigil. He's in a 1v3 right now. EMP is on the ground, and they know where he is. He was able to kill Lofi, however, his location has been revealed, and Ember holding the stairs is able to get the last pick there. 5-1. UNRV isn't going to be able to make too many mistakes in this second half. Sides have swapped though, economies reset, maybe this will let them get a foothold. Perhaps the 5-1 curse will kick in and UNRV will pull it back straight 7-5. However, one can only hope for something like that. Be great to see flawless defense coming out from UNRV every single round. That would be amazing to see. Really a big switch up if it did happen. Showing off the audio of some of the new charms. do see Vigil here in storage. It does seem like they will be going storage side on the side of Bro. Drone going out. Won't see anything yet. There are two players very close on door. One has rotated off, however, one will stay in cubby. Not a bad idea. Grenade goes out. Won't quite catch much damage. Ember will take one, however, not much in the grand scheme of things. They do have foam on wall now. They're gonna be able to start this push. Dexter is able to get a pick. Lofi also gets one. Vigil trades on Ember. Drew also gets Prodigy. Looking very good so far. Two players up and no one on the site they're pushing. Ooh, Math is able to get one though. He's gonna stay on AB door. Interesting choice. Dexter is in sight now though. EB is gonna be started planting. Ooh, Math goes down to Dexter, refragged by Vigil immediately. Now it's a 1v2. A little bit damage goes out. Vigil is on a health disadvantage though. He's gonna make a little bit of footsteps, however, Drew goes down. Very good headshot from Vigil. One v one right now, 30 seconds on the clock. Always has health advantage. However, Vigil has been very quiet. He now knows where he is, but always is able to get the pick. Rose is now on match point. UNRV is going to need a flawless half if they want to pull back map 1 factory. However, the way things are going, it's not looking too good. They have decided to do basically a full buy. I see 3 Vipers, a Spectral, and an Omen. On the side of Bros, though, a Vezin, an Aurel, an RCP, and 2 Omens. It's going to be very difficult to fight, especially the Aurel and Vezin. Much higher TTK than any of the guns on the side of UNRV. Even the RCP is like very good. I can personally vouch for it. It's strong at close range. You can very easily two-shot headshot people. It does 56 damage to the head. In case you didn't know, that's very fast. And maybe we'll see Ember do a little bit of damage with it. However, we're going into this possibly what could be the last round of the half. Early trips go down, not going to cause any damage. They are going to be able to take Vending and Tetris basically for free. However, there is this flank here in orange. Hopefully the drone does check. Ooh, they might have just given audio. They may know that there's one there on the roam. One in cubby, one back site, and the other 2 are backed by Khan and AB door. Well, is going to be blown in a moment. There is also a flank watch, which gets the kill. Dexter holding their back. Ember using that RCP. And Vigil is able to take out Lofi. Kenny also getting a pick. This pushes kind of fall apart. EMP player ran into sight without checking any angles. Dexter in B gets one. Now it's player advantage in their favor. Dexter is going to have to be careful. The angle is being held. Ooh, Dexter is able to get that pick, and now it's a 1v3. Vigil is on his own, and he's about to be pinched. Dexter is able to get Vigil, last pick of the round, and Pros is going to win map 1, 7-1. BRO2, sorry. It is BRO2 on the stream side, yes. Okay. I should probably leave OBS open. Very good plays there from BRO2. They were able to very efficiently use gun and gun skill advantage in their favor, and it shows here. Dexter 12 and 3, Lofi 10 and 7. Very good standout shooters on the side of BRO2. Kenny and Vigil doing their best. 6 kills each. Not bad. However, not quite good enough to get enough picks to win. Does seem like BRO2 may be swapping in a few players. No Drew coming back. Maybe one more tryout. Our next map has been chosen. Looks like we will be playing Hideout. Just waiting on this last BRO2 player. Hideout is personally one of my favorite maps. Oh. Okay. They just got the same players in. I'm not sure what that means, but we'll see. Maybe there wasn't any other subs. They just need to restart games for some reason. However, we are now going into second map of the half, or second map of the scrim. Maybe the last. Not sure if they will be doing another map. Give me a moment. I need to do something. Alright, hopefully I didn't miss too much. UNRV is still defense. It is middle floor, bro. Playing very aggro, taking a lot of space. Probably a little bit more comfortable on this older map. Oh, definitely the C4 Luna. Yeah, it sounds a whole lot more fun. Using proxies and C4s at the same time. Oh, it's gonna be fun fighting against some people. Wall is blown now. One is backside. They're gonna have to be careful. Ensign goes out. Lofi is able to get one. Ember gets one. Always goes down to the roam. Ember refrags that. Ember swinging in. However, Dexter getting Kenny in the end. Very good plays from bro. We are now in second round. Drone goes in its bottom floor. Very aggressive plays coming out from Bro here. Have waterfall and storage control already. Wall is not blown. Always gets vigil. A lot of damage being traded from between these teams. Ember has taken damage. Dexter and Lofi getting picks. Lofi another one. Prodigy gets Ember. However, Dexter is right there. Very drastic change in playstyle here from the Bro squad. Very aggressive. Very good there. I believe I saw one drop from Skylight down into Waterfall. Something I personally enjoy a lot. However, you don't tend to see it very often in scrims or league matches. Very fun to see it here used really efficiently. Uh, Waterfall control, hatch control, door, and site was basically open in a minute, 45 seconds. Not much you can do about that when you're not prepared. However, hopefully UNRV is ready now. Hopefully they have a lot more utility. I do see incense, smokes, grenades. This is going to be really important to deny the plant and slow down this Bro squad. Static will slow him down a tiny bit, however in the long run not too much. There is double trips on door. They're going to have to be careful on the Bro squad. Drone goes in, hopefully sees any players or utility. There is no one playing super outward though. Foam is on wall a little bit slower this time. There is one in bedroom and one in hallway, however, not quite pushing up yet. Always goes down very early on in the window. Not gonna be great. I believe they also had EMP. Yes, EMP is down outside. Decoy in tub is going to make it a little bit difficult. A lot of utility being traded. Unfortunately, a lot of it on the UNRV side. You don't want to waste your utility before EMP has been planted. Nade goes out. November is gonna get 2 of them. However, Lofi just jumped in shower. 2 kills. The last guy, Tub, though, not quite gonna work. Drew is now on his own 1v2. This is the closest round so far. Drew has a better gun and a little bit of utility advantage with that cloaking device. However, November has a healing syringe that could be very strong. Approaching 30 seconds on the clock. November seems ready for an A site push. Luckily, it is on A. And November is able to see Drew just before Drew could see November, and UNRV has their first round on the board. Very good there. They played a little. Firstly, Bro played a whole lot slower than before. Perhaps they just went fast on those other floors because it was easy to. However, they very well could have played very fast on the top floor as well. However, they chose not to. Not quite sure why. That speed was what got them the previous 2 rounds. Maybe it was just a small gimmick to try and bait out a reaction. However, kind of didn't work there. Playing slow kind of defeated the purpose of what they were doing originally, and not the greatest. However, UNRV did still do a very good job. They didn't play too outward, and that kind of helped them in defending site. Ooh, November in math getting 3 kills. Ember trading out with Vigil, but damage is done, and the UNRV players are going to be able to heal from that engagement. UNRV fighting fire with fire. Very aggro play style there. Drew is not going to be able to recover that HP, and they're going to be at player disadvantage for the whole 2 minutes left in this round. Does seem like a rotation is in order. However, UNRV seems ready for it. Wow, this is an interesting rotation. All the way around the building to get to a window. I've never seen this before. And the window is already open as well. However, they do have to be careful for the player back sight. Flashbang goes out. Won't quite catch anyone though. And now Drew is on his own. Heading goes out. Math goes down. 1v2. He has a massive health disadvantage. No EMP as well. He's gonna have to go for the kills. 1v1. 7 seconds on the clock. And he's able to get the clutch on 12 HP. Incredible there. 3k clutch to get Bro the 3rd round. I am amazed Drew was able to get that 3k there. He was so low. 12 HP. A body shot from any of their guns would have killed him, but it didn't happen. Drew was able to outmaneuver the players. Cloaking device and crouching helping a lot. Cloak device a little bit less so, but anything helps, of course. Well, almost anything. We're once again on middle floor, round 5. Does seem to be a garage side push. Vigil is here, for he rotates off. Grenade goes out. no drone yet. There is someone here in laundry. They're gonna have to be careful. There's also double trips and a static. An awful lot of utility there on laundry window, but nothing on the rest of B. Do see one door blocker on A, however, that is to be expected. You tend to see door blockers on A site. Ember has taken a lot of damage. They're gonna have to be careful. They also, yes, the player there in laundry isn't quite able to get any picks always, and Lofi doing some work here on wall. Ember goes down. Prodigy is able to take out Lofi, who swung in. Dexter is able to get Prodigy, and Kenny, who swung AB door. Very good plays, even with the all-roll, not all-roll, Omen beating out, I believe that was 2 rifles. Really goes to show how strong the Omen is if you can hit headshots. Very good play there. Bro did play a little bit slower there at the beginning. Not sure if they forgot something back in their spawn. I did see a player go back. However, they were able to take space very effectively and luckily not get caught out by the player in laundry. And that allowed them to take the round. Drone going in. It's gonna clear as much space as it can. However, all of the players are on site. They don't know that though. No one tub, interestingly enough, maybe because Ensign was thrown there last time. Grenade goes out. That's gonna catch Kenny. Flashbang as well. Ember goes down to an Ensign. Very good use of utility. EP is planted, but not before Lofi goes down. And this is going to be difficult for UNRV to come back from. EP's planted, and there's no saving its last round of the half. Dexter is also very close here. Very tight lean. He's able to get 1, 2. Math and Vigil go down to the lean peak. Prodigy is on his own. He's gonna need to speed up if he wants to win the round. But now it could be too late for that. Flashbang goes out. It's gonna slow him down. Another one drops. Ember goes down. Dexter in the corner is able to get the pick though. Luckily EMP was planted. Otherwise that could have turned very bad very quickly if the Bro players had played a little bit more aggro on the run downstairs. If they'd given too many picks, it could have been a real disaster, and they could have pulled back the round on UNRV. However, didn't happen. Who was it? I forget, actually. Unfortunate. I don't remember. Luckily for Bro, the player waited a little bit too long to swing anything, and that cost him the round. UNRV is now on the attack. There is one upstairs, however. They do break the door. That's going to reveal their position. They have taken a little bit of damage, but so has Prodigy. And no one's in garage. Hopefully they take space off this. Very good. And now they have garage control. There is still one upstairs, and they're being very patient. There's also one on foyer here. Lofi gets that pick, though. They're gonna have to be careful. Utility goes out. Won't quite catch any damage. And Lofi is in a very dangerous corner for UNRV. He could really hurt them. There is still one upstairs. They're going to have to be careful. Prodigy takes a lot more damage, though, here on Garage. 2 players dedicated to a flank watch, though. Not the greatest to have. Granted, there are 2 flanks. Meanwhile, the push hasn't quite stopped. It's been severely slowed down, and Ember is securing that for them. Math goes down in laundry, and this is going to really slow down the push. Ember gets Prodigy on the doorway. That's EMP down, and there's still 3 roams. Vigil is going to go down to Lofi, who also gets Kenny. Great 2K there, winning out the round. Match point once again, 6-1. Yo, I'm getting a little bit of deja vu here. 6-1. Bros is very close to winning. If it were a VRML match, the whole series, but it is a scrim. We could be seeing a 3rd map. Maybe we'll see a perfect offense coming out from UNRV this time, though. Perhaps they can win this out if they get 6 rounds in a row. We are on bottom floor. UNRV has not a bad lineup of guns. 4 S5 SMGs. Sorry, they just purchased another one. However, bro, 2 Aurils and 2 SMGs. Very good choices on guns. You can win most gunfights with those, even against rifles. Hopefully they don't forget EMP though. Ooh, always goes down back sight to Kenny. Very good first pick. However, UNRV has lost a player. It's going to be 4v4, and they have storage control here. They're going to need to be careful of waterfall, though. Kenny is able to get one. However, Drew in the back is able to refrag that. Ember here in back sight. Hopefully going to make a move. There is also one in con. Ooh, Ember is able to get November. Drops down, taken out by Math. And Dexter is on his own in sight. However, there is a roam. Prodigy is able to get Dexter. However, Drew here in Waterfall gets the pick. EMP is outside. Unless his Math can hold the angle the whole time? No. He's going to rotate off, try to get EMP, and does look like Drew will be taking space in his absence. And Drew is able to get the pick. 7-1 once again. Oh, is that the end of the scrim? Final scores of that map, except for UNRV, three of their players have left. Not sure if it's the end of the scrim. I'll let you know if it is in a moment. Alright, it has been confirmed. The scrim is over. Thanks for tuning in. Pretty good cast. Rose did win pretty dominantly, though. It's a very different playstyle coming out there at the end of Hideout. Maybe need to try that again. That was very good, very aggressive attack, and it worked really well, especially since the UNRV defense wasn't ready for it. Very good to be able to play very aggro effectively, and you should definitely practice that more, especially on other maps, because you usually only see aggression on older maps. However, if you can get really good at attacking very aggressively on newer maps, you might be able to take uh, older teams, better teams by storm. However, just a little bit of advice, you and RV, you should probably play a little bit more together. 2v1s tend to lead to more wins, and utility is also very important. Just something to keep in mind. However, that is the end of the scrim. I'm not sure when my next cast will be. I'm sure there is going to be one on Friday, the. Hang on. Friday the 22nd. That's going to be BLC versus Bros. Looking forward to that one. For now, see you then, though.